Welcome to the Pimp Your Brilliance podcast with Monique Malcolm, a show about creative people leveraging their brilliance to create their own opportunities. I aim to show you what's really possible when you shut down the chorus of fear and lean into your genius zone. You can learn more about this show and subscribe for updates by visiting keepchasingthestars.com/podcast. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Pimp Your Brilliance. I'm so glad that you're here. This is episode number 84, and you can find show notes at pimpyourbrilliance.com/84. Before we get into the episode, I wanted to invite you to check out a new training that I've released called How to Create Your First Digital Product in 5 Steps. I'm sharing my 5-step framework, which will take you from identifying your audience all the way to promoting your product. This is an on-demand training, meaning it's available right away. You don't have to wait for me or come back at a specific time. So if you want to take the training, you can go to pimpyourbrilliance.com/workshop, put in your email address, and you'll be redirected to the training. So again, it's pimpyourbrilliance.com/workshop. All right, guys. On today's episode, I am chatting with Beth Anne Schwamberger of Brilliant Business Moms about how to prepare for your first product launch. Now, if you are super resourceful, maybe you've already created your product and you're in the planning stages, you're thinking about how you can get this out to the masses, well, you're in luck because that's exactly what this episode is about. Beth Anne has launched everything from a physical planner to digital classes to a Facebook ads intensive. So Beth Anne is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to planning a successful launch. And in this episode, she's covering everything from giving yourself enough runway to plan, the phases of a launch, different types of content you should create, and she even talks a little bit about list building for your launch. This is an episode you definitely want to take notes on, so go ahead and grab a pen or a notebook or even open up the notes app on your phone and let's dive in. Hi, Beth Anne. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Monique. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. I guess they'll learn a little bit more as we go through the show today, but I've worked with Beth Anne a few months ago to learn how to do Facebook ads, and I really liked her style of teaching. She was a really great instructor, and I really like her business and kind of how she balances things out. So I could not wait to ask you to be on the show. I wanted to wait until we finished all the madness, and I know you went right into a launch, but I'm so glad you finally have time to be on the show because I can't wait to talk about launching with you.
Yes, I'm excited. I will nerd out on business stuff all day long.
Yay. Well, I'm excited. So let's start at the top because everyone doesn't know about you and your business like I do. So will you let us know who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Beth Anne Schwamberger. I am the founder of BrilliantBusinessMoms.com. So it started as a podcast interviewing brilliant mom entrepreneurs, and similar to yourself, which I was just thinking, I need to have you come on my podcast when I bring it back. And so really the business is about helping moms to build a business on the side while spending time with their families. So it's very much geared towards those margin-making moms. And as far as the rest of my life, I'm married to Chris. He's a pilot. We have 2 boys. And we're crazy enough to want to have even more kids at some point.
Will you tell us a little bit more about Brilliant Biz Moms, some of the things that you've created? Because in a way, we have some similarities, but I don't focus on moms.
Yes. Okay. So, oh boy. So Brilliant Business Moms has evolved so much. I'm hoping to slow down that evolution a bit in the future and narrow in on a few things. But yes, so some things I've done in the past, I created the Brilliant Life Planner. And so again, that was geared towards moms and helping them to time block their days, helping them accomplish big goals, but also write down what they're grateful for, write down those favorite memories. And I know you have an amazing planner, so I think that's potentially one of the ways you found me and knew, okay, Beth Anne's using Facebook ads to sell her planner, so let's do this. And then, so other things, I teach Facebook ads. I've just recently brought back my Facebook ads program, and I love that. So that's probably that's where most of my time and attention goes, whether it's my own ad campaigns and finding new ways to be creative there, and then passing on what I'm learning and testing to students who typically my students tend to be, moms growing businesses on the side. So.
Yes. Okay. So I just wanted you to tell people about Facebook ads and planners up front, because I think those are two things that you've done really well. And that's totally how I found you, with the Facebook ads of your planner. And I was like, I need to learn how to sell with Facebook ads, because most of the people that I have found online teach courses and digital products, but I hadn't found very many people that were talking about physical goods. So the timing was like perfect when I saw that you were launching that.
Yeah, and it was so fun to have you in the group. And, I think what's so interesting, because I have a mix of digital product students and physical product students, a lot of times my physical product students have the faster wins. So anyone who's out there listening who might be feeling like, oh, there's not enough, there aren't teachers that are helping me with my physical products, like, no, like dive in, do what you can, because I mean, there's still so much room in the physical product space, and you can get those ads up and running and find those new customers.
Okay, so let's jump into launching, because I have so many things that I want to ask you, and I know this is something that you have done very well. But first question, because this is something that I get asked a lot as well, how much lead time do you need to prep for launch?
Oh boy. Okay, so if you are wanting to go all out with your launch, I mean, you have great big goals, and let's assume the timeline I'm giving you that you already have your product ready to go, whether it's physical or digital. I still think with a big launch, you want to give yourself like a 3-month runway. Which probably sounds insane to some people. I know some business owners who kind of do a mini launch every single month. And that's fine if you want to just do a little promotion every month. But if you're really wanting to go big and you really want to take your audience on this journey to where they are so excited for your product, they are ready to buy on launch day, you really want to give yourself a nice long runway to make it happen.
Okay. And then once you have decided, okay, I want to do the big launch, I'm giving myself 3 months to plan this, what are the phases of a launch that we should be thinking about?
Sure. So the biggest one, as far as I'm concerned, is your pre-launch content. So the pre-launch phase being everything that happens before the offer goes live. So a lot of people talk about that as like before you open your cart, for example, which makes sense for digital courses because like you're going to open the doors and maybe only have enrollment open for, 5 to 15 days or something like that. But for physical product sellers, it's the same principle of, maybe the product is available in your shop, or maybe you're releasing, as far as what I'm talking about, is typically releasing like a brand new collection or something new. And so, yes, you would have launch day is when that product is first available for sale, essentially, or that collection. So there's pre-launch, there's your live launch, there's your post-launch period where you want to be debriefing, you want to be looking at all your stats. But for me, that pre-launch period where you are releasing some awesome, super valuable content every single week. You're emailing your audience every single week, and you are taking them on a journey. So they understand what your product is about. They understand who it's for, who it will help. You have handled their objections. So all those excuses, those reasons they're going to give for not buying, you've basically karate chopped them. And those are gone. The objections are out the window because you've handled them. And ideally during that pre-launch period, and this is something I've found to be the most powerful piece of pre-launch content, which is happy customer stories and case studies. And again, so that looks different whether it's physical or digital products. But man, the more you can highlight your customers as the stars and share their story and share how your products have helped them, the better that launch is going to go.
And typically with a pre-launch, like how long does that phase for you normally last?
Yeah, so for pre-launch, I recommend that people have at least 3 weeks of solid pre-launch content. If you can push it out to where you have 6 weeks, I mean, that's amazing, but that's a little, that can be challenging for some people. So when I say like you want that 3 month runway to plan your launch, that's because, that first month, that's when you're going to sit down and develop all that content. And you're going to think to yourself, okay, what are my star customers? Who can I reach out to? Like, can I do a video interview with them? Can I schedule them to come on a Facebook Live with me? What little social media posts can I be planning out that are going to plant those seeds for people? So at least 3 weeks. That for me is kind of the bare minimum before launch.
Are you also creating a product alongside the launch content, or is the product already done? Or are you pre-selling and then creating the product after you've already pre-sold?
Right. Okay. This is such a good question. So for physical products, and again, I'll, just speaking to my experience, obviously there are so many different physical products out there. My main physical product experience is just with designing and manufacturing planners. And so in that case, my planners might be still at the factory getting made, but all of the work as far as new planner covers, all the inside proofs, everything that goes into developing that planner, that's my piece of it, that has all happened before the 3 months has started. And really at that point, the only thing I'm waiting on is the factory is producing it, and I've got to have that part happen, and then for them to, of course, ship everything to me so I can start shipping out orders. So for planners, I will often do where my launch it's like a pre-order. So they're basically funding the manufacturing of my planner. I've done that quite a few times. And so they understand that when they're ordering, it's probably going to be another 6 to 8 weeks before that planner arrives in their hands. So that's one way to do it. But again, I'm not working on proofs and all of that during that launch period. Like, I've already taken care of that, so that this is one thing I think it's important for people to know is the more you can have your product done and ready, the more you can absolutely crush your marketing. Because I think we take for granted how much time it takes to effectively market our products and connect with our audience. And there's so many details and pieces to that you don't really want to be distracted and stressed out and still trying to finish your product. But I do think doing pre-sales is totally fine. As far as like my courses, the only time I've pre-sold a course was actually this last round of the ads intensive, because I knew, though, I'd already taught Facebook ads for years. And so all I really needed to do was have a really detailed outline of every single week. Here's what I'm going to teach on. I structured it so that it was a live lesson each week. And I did have a couple lessons ready to go before the program launched. But I really, I don't know. I'm torn on a new course creator, like whether they should pre-sell or not. Because there's certainly something to be said for making sure there's a demand for your product. But a lot of students I've worked with, even if I have suggested that to them, they're like, oh no, that's way too stressful. Like, I'm not, they're like, no, I've got to have this thing ready to go. So I think as far as that goes, you can feel a little bit more confident in what you're offering if you've done some surveys of your audience and you feel like, yep, this is definitely meeting a need that, they have.
I agree. I kind of skew towards I rather just have it done first. And so later, I know that goes against like some of the wisdom that I've seen online. Like, I've seen numerous people say you should pre-sale and then create the course later. But I just don't like the pressure of having to try to get all of that done while doing a launch and running a challenge. It's too much.
Right. And two, I think we take for granted how valuable it is once you do, let's take, for example, like a course or a digital product. Once you're welcoming students in, you don't want to be so stressed out and overwhelmed creating all the materials that you can't show up for them and really serve them and take care of them. Because, man, that makes such a big difference when your students are saying like, hey, I can tell you really care. I can tell, you're willing to invest the time with us. I mean, you can set yourself apart so much just by having that focus with your customers.
Okay, so I want to ask about, because you mentioned a few things for pre-launch content as far as making sure your students, your successful students, are like the stars, which I love. That reminds me a lot of Donald Miller's Story Brand book. He talks about making your customer the hero of the journey. So that reminded me of that. But besides like testimonials and case studies, what are some other good types of pre-launch content that you can create?
Yes. Oh, this is such a great question because you can have fun and get really creative with the ways that you're positioning your content. So some other things you can do would be myth-busting content. So if you're talking about, the top 10 things you're getting wrong about Facebook ads, or the top 5 myths that are holding you back when it comes to creating your own product. Again, there's obviously so many examples, but myth busting posts can be great because, again, those are essentially all of those unconscious beliefs that our potential customers have that are potentially keeping them from saying yes to our product because they're going, well, I can't do that because XYZ, or, they might think the process is more difficult, or they need to have XYZ qualifications in place before they're ready, or all those kinds of things. So busting through myths is really powerful. Another one that people take for granted is just like a super detailed FAQs kind of resource. Not that you would necessarily call it an FAQs, but basically introducing that product. Again, whether it's physical or digital, to really say, here is everything that this is about. Here are all the details, all the features. So you're, really not leaving any stone unturned as far as that goes. Also tutorials. I mean, people take for granted, obviously you're not going to, if you're selling an information product, it's not like you're putting that all up for free, but people take for granted the fact that sometimes you have to show that you are a good instructor, or for people to get a sense of your teaching style, to know that you're going to be a good fit, that you're worth investing the money in. So if you can give them some tutorials, especially tutorials that basically qualify them to be ready for your product, that can be really, really big. So an example there might be one of the big ways I teach Facebook ads is freebies into Tripwire offers. And so I have a lot of bloggers, for example, that will come to me, but they don't even have a digital product yet. So of course, they're not going to be a fit for how I teach ads. And so if I can create some sort of, if I can give them a tutorial of like, here's how to take your most popular content, turn it into a freebie in Tripwire, then boom, now I've shown them that I'm a good teacher, but also now they're ready to go and they're qualified for the program.
Oh, I love that. I think that's such a smart idea. And the freebie to Tripwire thing is like, it's really clutch. And I think a lot of business owners overlook how effective that can be, especially when somebody opts in for the first time, how a lot of people are really excited about information, like when they first find you. And I have found that a lot of people are really willing to just go ahead and throw a couple of dollars at you if it's not something that's like priced out.
Right, exactly. I think we completely take that for granted. I think when you're not used to sales, I guess, it can be easy to think like, okay, I've got to like take this real slow and like real casual, and I don't want to be like too pushy right off the bat. But you're exactly right. Like when someone is brand new, they've just found you, you've got awesome resources for them, they've opted in. Yeah, they're ripe, they're excited. Like, so give them that next step, put that offer in front of them. And yeah, I think people will be surprised at how many people will take them up on that tripwire. And, of course, if it's a great tripwire and they're getting value from that, then they're going to continue to want to buy from you going forward.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked a bit about pre-launch content and so you said that, the live launch happens. So are you a fan of doing some type of launch event? Is there a particular launch event that you like to do if you are into the launch events, or do you go, like, how do you approach your live launch? I guess is the question.
Yes. Okay, this is a great question. So, of course, for quite a few years, I feel like the main launch events people have been doing are either a challenge or a webinar. So those are kind of the standard things. And I've done both before. I would say my webinars work a little bit better for me when I do a live webinar. But I think it is getting more and more difficult to get people to attend those live and set aside the time for them. So I'm trying to think back. So my last big launch that I did would have been for this last round of the FB Ads Intensive. I didn't do a webinar because the customer I was trying to bring in, she is super busy already. She's already making sales in her business. And so really what I wanted to do was just prove to her that, hey, I've got a lot of happy customers already, and here's what I'll be teaching you in this program, and I know I can help you, essentially. So I kind of structured my live events as I did several Facebook Lives with some of my successful students. And so then I would just email people, let them know when I was going live, and that if they joined us live, then they could ask any questions that they wanted to of my guests. I also did a live where it was just me answering questions about the intensive and what it's all about. So I did that instead of a webinar. I guess the other weird part with the intensive is it's an application only program. So I don't have like that live open cart period per se. It's more like this rolling application period. And then everybody knows, okay, by this date, I'm going to find out if I'm in or if I'm not. But, that would be one way to structure those live events, though, is I think a live event on day one of your offer, you can do a Facebook Live. Even better if you can set up another device and do an Instagram Live at the same time, show off your product. If it's physical, share all those features. If it's digital, again, you could take them behind the scenes, answer all their questions about it. I think that can be really clutch. I still do think webinars can be great. It really depends on your audience. I think where webinars are so powerful is all the niches that aren't used to seeing them as much, So like if you're not in the B2B space, I think a webinar can still work so well for you. Just say, hey, this is a free class. Make sure you're giving some value to them. And of course, then offer your paid product at the end.
Okay. I really loved how you did your last launch. I noticed a few of my classmates inside of your lives. I think her name is LaToya.
Yes, LaToya. Mm-hmm.
I saw hers and I thought, oh, she really killed it in the Facebook class with her freebie to Tripwire. So I wasn't surprised that you had her on live.
Yeah. And this is one thing I really want to emphasize for people, just how powerful those customer case studies are, because I have so many people, and again, you can deliver them in so many different ways, right? So like this time I brought people on to do a live with me. In the past, I've done podcast interviews with customers. What else? I guess I've never brought them on as like a webinar guest, but yeah, basically, you could do blog post features with them. Um, but I have so many people that email me and go, "Hey, I heard Karina on your podcast and I would love to have a business just like hers. So like let me in. Like, how do I get in your ads program?" Or they'll be like, "I heard Jamie." Or yeah, then this last round after people saw LaToya and they saw Casey on Facebook Live with me, they're like, "I saw this person. I saw LaToya on live. Oh man, I would love to be just like her. Pretty please, like, how do I apply? How do I get into this thing?" And I get that feedback back so much more than any other kind of content that I produce. Like, I could stand up and teach people all day long and like give away half my program for free. And I'm telling you what, it still would not pack the same punch as them just seeing successful customers. So, and honestly, the same thing happened with physical products though, because I've interviewed Happy Planner customers in the past and they will share, "Hey, here's how you helped me finally get a handle on my day. Here's how you helped me have more gratitude or like finally make progress towards those goals." And so the same thing happens there where people, it's just like that light bulb just clicks of like, "Oh man, this really truly works." It's not just, because obviously any of us can stand up and say whatever we want about our products. So yeah, when you have someone else sharing how they worked for them, it's just super powerful.
Okay. So with that being said, something that came up in my mind is, do you have any tips for someone who's like a true beginner? So maybe this is their first launch and their first product, so they might not have a ton of happy customers. How would you suggest that they approach that?
Yes. Oh, that's such a good question. So I'm a firm believer in either the beta test or like the friends and family round or whatever you want to call it. And I think if you're being transparent, like let's say, for example, you have a new planner coming out and you're brand new online, so you don't have like this audience. You don't really have people that you can give this planner to for free who could test it out for you. But we all have friends and family, obviously. So find a few guinea pig friends of yours and say, "Hey, would you try this out? Would you go through my system? Tell me all your thoughts. Tell me the ways it helped you. Tell me what you didn't like too." And then if those people are willing to hop on a Facebook Live with you or to be featured in a blog post, and you can say in the beginning, like, I think, yeah, be completely transparent and say, "So-and-so is a friend of mine and I've known her for X amount." But basically outlining, here's the thing. She's always struggled with XYZ. I was able to share this system with her and, now things are better. So I think that is still powerful for people as well. As when you're being transparent, like, it's okay because they're still able to just tangibly see that, oh, this is helping people. And yeah, I think that just makes such a big difference versus trying to go into that first launch completely blind and not have anyone to kind of be standing behind you, vouching for you, really. And I think too, let's say it's clothing, for example. So get some of those samples into the hands of people. Find some moms who will put those dresses on their little girls or whatever it is, and then tell you what they love about them and tell you how they're little, what situations are they wearing the dresses in, for example. I just think I think people underestimate how powerful that is. I think they assume, oh, I've got to like get my dresses into the hands of all these fancy influencers. And in a lot of cases, though, those influencers are so busy, like they're not going to give you a proper review. They're not, like there's just a lot of complication there. Whereas if you can have a bunch of friends be your testers, give you their great feedback, and you bring them all over and say, "Hey, we're going to take some photos," for example, I think that can work really well.
Okay, so I love that. I think those were really great tips. Now, I think you can't talk about launching if you don't talk a bit about list building. So I would love to hear your thoughts about list building either during a launch or in preparation of a launch.
Yes, that's so true. And I think I should have mentioned that as like one of the phases of your launch period. So I guess I call it the pre-launch, but like that's when you're planning out all of that content that we've talked about. The other thing you're going to do during the pre-launch is plan out your freebie that you're going to be promoting everywhere. And so you'll promote that freebie during your pre-launch period, right? So yes, you're going to be list building while you're sharing all this great new content, while you're building relationships. You want to be building your list as well, because I mean, I think all of us in business see that as much as I love Facebook ads and I will run ads during my live launch too, I'm still getting the vast majority of my sales right through my email list, just sending out those sales emails. So yes, as far as that freebie goes, I mean, this comes down to understanding your customer and what's the journey that she's going on. So I don't have a rule as far as, oh, your freebie should be a checklist, or, oh, your freebie should be an ebook or a guide or whatever. I think it is very niche specific, but you just need to think about, where is your customer right now and where does she need to be ready for your product? And so, what first step can you help her with to get her ready to buy your product? And again, let's go back to the physical stuff, just because I think it's so easy for my physical product sellers to kind of poo-poo a lot of what they hear in digital marketing world, which I totally get. But I have a student who sells hair bows, and she's got a freebie that's like 3 adorable, quick and easy hairstyles to do on your little girl, for example. And so, of course, in her freebie, she's planting the seed showing her cute little hair bows being used within those hairstyles. So she's now positioned herself as like not just another hair bow seller, but as someone who can truly help her customers. And she can then be taking that person who's going, oh, there's no way I'm going to buy hair bows for my little girl because I don't even have the time to like fix her hair. Now she's helped overcome that hurdle for that person, because they're going, oh, these are quick and easy. Like, I can actually do these. So now I'm excited to put a few bows in my little girl's hair. So that's just kind of one example of you taking that person from like, nope, not for me, to like, okay, maybe this product is going to be a good fit for me.
Okay. And then my next question is about managing it all, because there's all these phases and things that you have to do. How do you manage all of the moving parts of a launch?
Yes. Oh, okay. So I'm going to be honest with you. Organization is not my strong suit. So I have tried probably every project management software out there. I've tried Basecamp, Trello, Asana, probably a few others. I looked at, there's some fancy spreadsheet program I've tried as well, only for a hot minute, and I didn't stick with that one either. So for me, I have like a master Google Doc. And so then I can share that with anyone who's part of the launch for me. And I've done launches where it was me and like 4 other team members. And I've also done launches that were like me and like 1 other team member doing like very part-time work. So I've kind of been all over the place in terms of how much help I have with my launches. But yeah, I'll do a Google Doc. I have dates listed for like when things need to happen. And so I'm kind of rearranging the checklist. And then I keep everything related to that launch inside like a Google Drive folder. So, and then that Google Doc, the main checklist, it kind of serves as a master guide. So I can link out to like, okay, here's this resource and here's this thing over here. That's what I do. I will say I worked with a much bigger company last year and helped them with one of their launches. And we used Asana. And that was the first time I was kind of like, okay, I get it. I think I could see Asana making sense, because I do like, you can upload your images right in there. Then people can comment and give their thoughts, or, upload whatever pieces of the launch you're trying to upload. People comment. Then you attach the new version, and you can have all sorts of different categories. So I think those would be my 2 main recommendations for people. But just know that I am not perfect at that. at all. And I don't know. I feel like for everyone's launch, there's probably pieces that might get missed or get dropped, or you realize halfway through that you're so overwhelmed, you're going to just have to take pieces off, right? Like you might have to drop a Facebook Live off of the launch, or you might have to simplify some aspect of your marketing, or a few less Instagram posts go out than you wanted to. And, that's okay. Like a launch does not have to be perfectly executed to be really, really effective.
I'm glad that you said that, the last part, because I think sometimes we beat ourselves up about all the things that we should have, could have done. But it's like, did you do anything? Did you try? Because sometimes that's enough.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, man, even when I had a bigger team and it was women who were, they knew my business really, really well. We still miss stuff, and we still had to be like, oh, whoops, because there's only so much time in the day. And real quick, just some encouragement on that front. I want to encourage everyone to, if you have to drop anything, just make sure what you're not dropping is connection with your audience. Like, please make sure you're taking the time to respond to those comments and questions on social media or within your challenge group or the email responses you're getting back. Like those personal touches, that personal connection, even though it might feel like, oh man, this is only one-to-one, and isn't it so much more powerful if I can go one-to-many? But you can't, like, that's something you can't substitute. And the level of just people connecting with you and understanding that you care about them and that you're in it for more than just making a quick buck. That's incredibly valuable. So just make sure you're not dropping the ball on showing up for your people and connecting with them and caring about them.
Yes, that was amazing advice. Okay, so we are towards the end here, and I always love to wrap up the show with the Pimp Your Brilliance Action Challenge, because we are about taking action here, not just consuming information. So Beth Anne, if you they're convinced, they're ready to start preparing for their first launch, what would be their next steps? Like, what three things must they do to prepare for the first launch?
Yes, such a good question. Okay, I would say step 1, get that freebie. And again, it doesn't need to be 10 freebies, you guys. Just pick one. Pick one, get it made, get your opt-in form up. Next step, get some pre-launch content up. So I would say plan for 3 big pieces. So again, you've got your case study, you've got handling some myths, you've got a value add type of tutorial, something like that. And then the third thing you need to do, pick your live launch day and find some way to make live launch day feel like a party, So again, you're going to hop on live, you're going to do a webinar, or you're finishing up your challenge on when the cart opens. Those are the 3 things you've got to do. You've got to take action on, you've got to get those done. And honestly, everything else on your launch is going to be bonus extra. Of course, you're going to fill in a lot of other pieces, but get those 3 things done and planned.
Okay, so really quick to recap, do your freebie, make sure you have that. You said make sure you get 3 pieces of pre-launch content and then set your live launch date. And then everything else, that's extra.
Yes.
Don't stress yourself. And then books. What are you currently reading that we should know about or that we should look up?
Yes. Okay, so I was looking through my recent books. I'll be honest, I switch back and forth between fiction and nonfiction. And so right now I am, as far as fiction goes, I am reading Where the Crawdads Sing. So, which it's good. It's just like a fun fiction diversion, but I like the writing. And then nonfiction. So, and this isn't business per se, but I found it really, really helpful. So it's Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. This book is so good, and you should get the audio version if you can, because he kind of does it like a podcast, and he will have some people are talking like in their own voice on the audio version. But this book, I love it because it makes you realize, this is going to sound bad, but humans, we can be a really poor judge of character. And even when we think that we know we've got a sense of a person. And one, I just think it's going to make you a better human being to read this book and to understand how we get those judgments completely wrong about people that we don't know. But two, that completely applies to online business because we are making judgment calls about a fellow online contact that we have. We're making judgment calls about someone we're interviewing for a position that we might be hiring for. And so I think this book is going to change people's minds on some of that and hopefully help them to come into any situation and be less biased and more open. So I love talking to strangers for that.
And then finally, how can listeners get in contact with you? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, so my favorite place personally to hang out is Instagram. So I am at Brilliant Biz, B-I-Z Mom on Instagram. I sometimes share helpful business things. I shouldn't be saying it like this, Monique. I will be honest. A lot of it is like behind the scenes mom life as well, because I'm kind of always in that balancing both worlds. But you'll kind of get a taste of both over there, and kind of how I approach everything in business. Like I kind of just want to be friends with my whole audience. So if you want to come hang out with me and be my friend, then I think you'll find my Instagram fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You shared some amazing things, and I can't wait to see how people launch.
Thank you so much, Monique. This was so much fun.
Awesome. All right, you guys, until next time, go out there and pimp your brilliance.